Looks like we're live. What's up, everybody? How's it going? Happy Friday. Welcome to Benzinga All Access, our weekly show where we spend some time talking to C-suite executives, founders, CEOs, CFOs about their companies and about what makes them tick. I got a bit of a combo show today. What we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of live trading. That's our show that we do every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday with Ryan, Zunaid, and Mitch. We're going to do a little bit of live trading through the open. And then after we get past the open is when we're going to bring on our all access guests of the day. We got 4 companies on the docket for today. I'll run through them right now. We're going to talk to Dan Stiebel, the CEO of Save Foods. That'll be in around a half hour or so. We're going to talk to Vasilis Gregoriou, who's the CEO of Adivan Technologies. Grant Smith, the CEO of Pond Technologies, will be afterwards. And our very last guest of the day, rounding us out, will be Travis Mickle, the president and CEO of KemPharm. So that's what we've got. But again, we'll get to those guys after we get to some live trading through the open here. Let's roll that intro, and then I have a couple of other housekeeping items to do, and then I'll bring Ryan on, and then we'll do some live trading. Where's my intro video? There it is. So we've got our intro. I'm back. Before I bring on Ryan and before I bring on Mitch to do some live trading through the open here, a couple of housekeeping items. Housekeeping item number 1: this show, this all access show, is one of the main ways that Benzinga monetizes its YouTube channel. Okay, so every company, the 4 companies that have agreed to come on today's show, have paid Benzinga to do that, to come on the show. However, they don't know what we're going to talk about. They don't know what I'm going to ask them. And more importantly, they don't know what you're going to ask them, because you will have a chance. If you have a question, just drop it in the chat at any time. And I might ask it. Okay. This is as much for you as it is for me. So the companies have paid to be here. They do not know what we're going to talk about. Everything is fair game. So that's the first thing. Second thing is this show, All Access, does have a sponsor. I'd be remiss not to mention them. That sponsor is Ticker, Tiicker. They're doing some really cool things on the company perks front. They've basically revolutionized how everyday investors get rewarded for brand loyalty. They connect consumers with and shareholders essentially. They're the platform there that does that. So I'm gonna play a quick video and then tell you how you can sign up for Ticker and get a free Amazon gift card.
What is Ticker? That's right, Ticker with 2 eyes, just like you. Who rewards you as a shareholder, as a brand lover. Consumers become investors in the brands they love.
All right, so ticker.com/Benzinga. Let's put the link up on the screen right now. TIICKER.com/Benzinga. Click on that link, okay? Register or copy it, whatever. Register for an account, create your account, connect your brokerage account to your Ticker account. And once you do that, once you make that connection and you have that connection open for 30 days, Ticker will send you a $20 Amazon gift card. Okay, so there's the link up on the screen, TIICKER.com/Benzinga. Create an account at Ticker, connect your brokerage, and after a month, Ticker will send you a $20 Amazon gift card. Thank you for Ticker. Thank you to Ticker for sponsoring this show. Okay, that's what I've got on the housekeeping front. So smash that like, and let's bring on Money Mitch and Ryan Felina, who are both going to share their charts as well. And we got about 13 minutes until the open here and a lot to get to. So, guys, what's going on, man? How are we doing today?
We're doing really good, actually, Spence. How are you doing? Thanks for having us on your All Access program.
I'm in a good mood. Let's be honest. It's Friday. That's generally a good day, right? I mean, so there's no reason not to feel good about that. What's up, Mitch?
I'm ready to hug some stocks, man.
Hug
stock
some
hugger.
stocks.
Stock
Wait. I thought you were bearish this morning.
Bear hug is what he's ready to do,
no,
right?
I'm bullish some areas, though. I am looking for the reopening trade. So I even put on their trade ideas widget. I put out a bullish look on American Airlines. I'm seeing it go sideways a couple days. Seeing maybe some oil worries. Yeah, we heard about the German yesterday, kind of getting it a nice lift. But I do think it is coming on down. I've been seeing the basic materials not looking as strong as they've been looking. So we'll see what happens if oil and energy and basic materials keeps turning down. Steel is going to be interesting, though, with the Chinese kind of news coming on out. That's going to be one to watch.
Ryan, what are you watching this morning?
Well, as far as the larger market goes, I think we're going down today. I really do. I know we had, I know Apple initially was positive after its earnings yesterday before going negative. It's swinging back and forth here. I think we're going down today. I'm going to watch Apple. Full disclosure, I'm actually short Apple through the print yesterday via next week's 155 put. So obviously, I'm hoping that I can cash that at a gain. But again, I want to see how the market actually behaves. I think that we're going to go down. I want to see if it's an orderly move down. If there's any type of panic or capitulation, that's really going to signal potential long entry, whether it be for just a dead cat bounce or for a swing. We shall see. A lot of that's going to depend on volume. And then in addition to that, I have several small cap stocks I'm going to be watching out of the open here. So first here is going to be Redbox. This is actually one that we have traded quite a bit here on this show. Has no stranger to making outsized runs. Spencer absolutely loves Redbox as a business. So we're going to trade it here on his liking. Looking here, if we can hold 395, I think we're going to actually try to push up towards 414. You might be able to trade that high of day break. You might actually be able to buy the pull here too, so long as we hold 395 and we don't get too crazy. Also want to mention ZYME. This is Zymeworks common shares. This actually had a buyout or talk about a buyout yesterday. So shares are up 50% in the pre-market after the company confirmed receipt of an unsolicited non-binding proposal for All Blue Falcons to acquire ZYME for $10.50 in cash. Current price $7.15. So I expect this to go back and forth until we get some clarity on that. I've basically marked out some levels that I'm going to watch for support and resistance, and I'm going to try to just trade small movements between these levels to try and keep my risk managed. Lastly, here I want to mention TCAT. This is an NFT play, China NFT play. We've traded this a whole bunch on this on the show before. This stock is no stranger to making outsized moves. You can see it's already trading up in the pre-market on some pretty heavy volume. So I'd actually like to see this stock performs better when it pulls back as its first move and then kind of sets up to go later in the day. That's generally speaking when we see the best moves out of this stock. That's what I'm going to be looking for here today.
TCAT. All right. There's a name, TCAT, that I haven't thought about, I don't know, since last summer. Whenever that big move was that you have to scroll left there to find it, but I don't know when that was. When NFTs first became a thing, was it like last spring? I don't even know anymore. That's what I thought about. I haven't thought about TCAT since then. So thanks for the blast from the past, Ryan.
One that I'll be kind of figuring out what I'm doing with the swing trade is Twitter, of course, into the green there. Got in at Twitter at 46.69 there. So I'm thinking about maybe starting to take some profit, but we'll see if we can get a push above 50 here out the gates. Airbnb is another one that I've had that had a good run yesterday. We'll see if it can continue. I might take a little bit of profit in there, but we'll see what happens here out the gates. Like always, the SPY was looking green towards the open. Now it's starting to kind of like die off there right at the end there. Around 9:15, we had a little bit of a dip. We'll see if we can get back above 425s today.
I am going to pull up my Benzinga Pro movers tool because this is the first thing that I check every morning when I sit at my desk at the office. And the first thing that I notice, like when I look at this tool every day, and there it is on the screen, really what I'm looking for here, maybe I'll zoom in for you. What I'm looking for is not just like what is up and what is down, but like what patterns I notice, like what themes can like jump out to me, right? And the obvious theme that jumped out to me today was on the gainers tool. I've got gainers on the top, losers on the bottom. On the gainer side of things, almost every stock that is higher is a Chinese stock, right? Like you got to scroll down really far to find a non. And obviously I don't recognize all these stocks here, right? I'm just going off the names that I recognize. So there's a couple of exceptions, but by and large, the vast majority of these stocks that are up, 5, 6, 7, 8% this morning are Chinese stocks. So okay, I know China is trading higher. I know that's the big theme of the day. And then I also know that a lot of companies reported earnings, right? And okay, I don't see any of those earnings companies near the top of my up movers tool. So earnings are probably by and large, most of the companies reporting earnings overnight are probably up slightly or flat or down in some cases, right? Like Amazon and Apple and Robinhood. So those are the themes that jump out today, right? China up, everything else flat to down. That China trade is interesting, right? Because we've seen this happen before. We've had a number of headlines in the past 6 to 8 months where that don't worry, it's all going to be okay. Regulation they're gonna bring it in. They're gonna support their industry, support their tech companies. I know we had this huge crash, but don't worry, things are gonna get better. We've had a number of those, and you see it in the FXI, but you even see it in like a stock like Alibaba, right? Because Alibaba has had a number of serious rips, and look at that rip we had a month and a half ago now in Alibaba, right? We went from 70. How low did we get there? Well, we got to 73. We went from 73 to 124 in like a week, right? So this thing has ripped before, but then what happens, right? The gains never hold. So we're going to open up higher this morning. We're going to open up higher, by about, what's that, $10, $11 this morning, right? Yeah. So do these gains hold on day one? Perhaps. But do they hold after a week or 2 weeks? Probably not, is what I'm going to say. The odds are this is not the bottom. It is just my take on China here. Whether it's Alibaba, whether it's KWeb. You guys know that I owned KWeb for years and sold it last summer. My entire opinion on China turned when everything kind of hit the fan last summer, but also a few weeks ago when I read this. I was reading about just Chinese demographics and how the birth rate is declining precipitously, and their demographics are aging, and they don't have enough young people. And so I'm just going to say I'm perma bear on China going forward. Perma bear on China, perma bear on all Chinese equities, and I want.
What if they start to conform to Western reporting standards? Would that change the needle for you or move the needle for you?
No, so the whole reason that I bought KWeb like several years ago was it was like, look, China is a developing, or sorry, it's an emerging that is growing into a developed economy, right? And they have billions of people that are getting online, and their internet sector is going to boom, and it did, right? It did boom. But the underlying core of that thesis was that it was going to continue to boom, right? That they're going to keep. I mean, there's going to be more people. China is, I think they're the most populated country in the world. I don't know if it's going to stay that way between them and India, but the core thesis there was the demographics are going to support a massive internet boom going forward. That already happened, though. If their demographics are in as poor shape as that study I was reading suggests, then I'm just out in general. So yeah, I'm out here. That's my take on China. We got Happy saying my mic is a little bit loud or low. Excuse me, my mic is low. I can turn myself a little higher. Thanks for
turn up.
Thanks for the tip, Happy.
Let's go. Who's ready?
I don't think I can see the chat. I just see comments and
private. Yeah, you're not allowed, bro. You're not allowed yet.
Oh man.
Don't worry, bro. We'll get you there, Ryan.
Rough.
Don't worry. Guess what? I'm not allowed either.
Okay. Well.
So don't feel hurt, Yeah. All right, let's go ahead. We'll see what happens here out the gates. One of the things, of course, to keep on watch today is, of course, the earnings stocks, right? We had plenty of earnings stocks come out last night. Bigger stocks. We could take a look at Apple. More than likely, this is going to be one of the biggest stocks to watch today. Yesterday we had a crazy day. It did not want to go down through that 159.15. So that's the level that I'm going to give you guys right now to kind of keep watching. You could see it yesterday. It fought multiple times there to break down, and it eventually just pushed out of that level. It did test it a couple times and then started pushing from that level. That's going to be the level that I'm going to call to watch right now. So we're going to put this as a red line here to make sure that we notice if we do get Apple to break below that, then I could see some downside action probably coming into the SPY. Right now we're at 161. So we're like 2 points off of this. So it shouldn't even come close to this right here out the gates, but we'll see if we just get a flush down through that 159 and then it keeps holding. You can see in the after hours, it did go down there on the earnings, but that was just kind of the algorithmic volume that was coming in and out of Apple. We'll see if it breaks it here out the gates.
I was asked for my take on Exxon Mobil earnings. So yeah, we can go to pull those numbers up here. The EPS came in a little bit below the estimate there. Did add a $30 billion buyback. Stock is, oh, that's not XOM here. On the screen, XOM. There we go. 15-minute chart. So we're going to open up near the high. Oh, look at that. We're right near the high of the after-hour session. What is that? The high of the after-hour session last night was 88.25. We're at 87.90 right now. So strong overnight session here. My take on Exxon Mobil, it's just the same as it is for all oil stocks, which is it. I mean, it's been an incredible time to own oil stocks. You haven't been able to say that for I don't know, since 2007. But oil has dramatically outperformed the broader market this year. And they're probably in a position to continue to keep doing so in the short term.
Yeah, I'm pushing here.
Yeah. Long term, I'm not convinced, but I mean, heck, let's just go to a weekly chart on Exxon Mobil. I mean, look at this thing. We're not quite near the high from early March, right? Right after the invasion of Ukraine, but we're within shouting distance. It's been an incredible 6 months to own oil stocks. It'll probably still be it'll probably be strong for the rest of the year, frankly. We start looking out 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. I'm not as convicted, but pretty convicted in Exxon Mobil and Chevron for at least the rest of the year, at least until the war kind of hopefully ends here. A buyback, Doc and Dave. A buyback is just a way to return capital to shareholders and maybe artificially boost the share price a little bit. It's more or less the same as a dividend, though. So the earnings, I guess, were fine. Call me a short-term bullish, intermediate-term bullish, long-term, nah, probably not.
Let's get going. It's time to make some money.
Oh, there was the bell.
Oh, I was ready. Got to be ready when you only got 20 minutes. Let's go.
Right.
Right,
I'm looking at PG right now. I'm looking also at X. Let's take a look at X here. That looks interesting. I'm going to try to grab it here at 33s if we can get a little pullback. Like that little push right out the gates here. I'm looking for a little pullback to like 33.15s. The bid is at 33.13, but I know I'm not going to be able to probably get a fill on that right now. So I'm looking for a little drop on the offer side. It's already pushing towards 33s there. I'll show you guys right now here on the 1 minute. So you guys are seeing that little push there. I'm looking for a little pullback here to 33.15s, 33.10s to go ahead and jump on in there.
All right, what jumps out to me off the open? Watching my scanner and my signals tool.
There's X pushing there. I missed it there, guys, out the gates there. There's a big order on EdgeX about 141 at the 48s, 33.48. So if you've seen that taken out, you'll probably see a big sizing come through on the time and sales. You can see also 8,000 shares there were sold at 33.47. Let's look for that 48 in that big order to come through now. He actually hid. He's not there anymore. And there you guys see it push through that 50. We'll keep watch on X today. That was one of the ones I was going to watch out the gates. I wasn't able to grab it. Should have probably grabbed 33, like 15 or 20 there. I was off about 5 cents. And that's how it happens if you're going to take a trade right out the gates there. US Steel getting a nice little push on up there towards the high at 33.50s. Let's take a look at some of the other steel names. You can take a look at STLD, and Cliff is another one that we can take a look at to see if we catch that. Cliff looks like a pullback here. It looks like I might be able to catch Cliff. All right, just grabbed a little bit of Cliff there.
Nice. Watching TCAT, by the way.
60s.
The market kind of
2760 there on Cliff. Let's see if we can get it through 2790 here. Risk is 2745. Reason why I'm go ahead.
I should say should probably check in on Amazon and Apple here. I mean, those were those are going to be the stories of the day. Yeah. Yeah. Let me bring in my Apple chart and give me a second.
I also like American Airlines here, so I'm going to look at American Airlines. Might get into 2 trades here. For a little pullback here in American Airlines. It's already pushing there towards the 40s, so I need a little pullback into 1930.
My computer
cat pull here off the open. Same with FNCH.
All right, we're going to this 1 minute chart in Apple here right off the open.
TDOC trading up out of the open here. I wonder if Kathy is buying more.
I certainly hope not, Ryan. I certainly hope not. All right, nice bounce off that dip in Apple here on the 1 minute chart. What do we got in Amazon? The Apple report was more or less good. They admitted China's they're having some near term headwinds here, but demand is strong. Amazon's report a little bit weaker, more infected by inflation, but again bouncing here off that opening dip. Go to maybe a 15-minute chart. It's a little bit better. Paints a clearer picture of where we're at.
There's Apple pushing there. There's a push, guys. 163, 170s. Look for the SPY probably to follow here. So Apple's on my bottom right. Look at that candle. Then now look at the middle here. Look how the SPY is going to try to take out the 425s. We'll see if it takes that out. That should give us a nice little extension. We'll see if we can get that nice push there. There's a nice push there for Cliff. Going to take half of it off here. Oh, it just dropped about 5 cents. But let me get it towards 2780s here. Take half of it off there. I just pulled back to 69. I need to get it back up at 80. Wasn't quick enough. Was looking at that Apple move there. We'll see if we can get it back. So this is Cliff here. I'll put it up here. There's the 80s there. Just sold half at 82. Looking for the extension above the high of the day here. So you can see the high of the day wick here to the left at 27.91. Let's see if we take that out. Then we could probably get into the 28s and sell the rest. This is for that quick trade. Scalp at the open pretty much. There's 27.98. Seeing it slow down there a little bit. So we want to see it hold the pullback here. Just got an alert for USFD. That's a food
box at the highs of the day here. 430 is going to be your spot for a high at daybreak.
Look at you and your red box, Ryan.
I'm trying to do this for you.
Go Ryan. Go Ryan. No, go Ryan.
You're
my man gets the bangers. That's what we say. He gets the bangers.
Try to find what's moving and capture the move. Sometimes we're successful. Other times we're not.
Hey, well, I wasn't able to catch the X move, but I went for a laggard in Cliff here. This is the laggard style trade. If you guys want to know what strategy this kind of was, it was using the pattern off Cliff, but also really using more of an industry outlook that you're seeing one of the leaders, X, start taking off. You could also watch NUE to see how that one's working. But like always, I take a look at the leaders, and if the leaders start pushing, you guys can watch that. X kind of is already at 34.30, so that's already moved $1.30. And we talked about that before the pre-market move there. It just was really fast.
A red box, big spot at 430. If it pops that, look out. This could go. They're whittling it right now. Some of it's bought.
All right, we're going to look for Cliff to hold VWAP here at the 70s. If not, we'll just take it out at 27.60s, and that would just be stop on the rest, but we still got reward 1. I was looking for the move above 28. It was right off of there, but looks like there was a seller that stepped up at 27.92. There was 11,227 shares traded there.
Yeah, happy. I saw Robin. Robin Hood's report was objectively not good,
Out there for
but
the
I kind
rest
of
of
thought it was
Cliff.
going to be worse. Well, oh, look at Robin Hood here off the open.
The
Wow.
hood. The hood. We can take a look at it. Let's take a look.
Look at that. Look at that opening tick.
Yeah, let's look for a VWAP bounce trade here. So it should be coming on back there. We're going to look for a 950 or 940 pull back there in hood. How's the SPY there? It's SPY pushing, I'm sure.
We got about a couple minutes left, and then we're gonna move on to the main event here, which is, of course, our all access show. If you do like what we're doing right now, though, I highly recommend checking out the live trading show every Monday through Thursday, 9:05, right after pre-market prep. Mitch, Ryan, and Zunaid doing this.
Yeah, YOLO Zunaid, man. He's a beast. Call him Hope Zunaid sometimes.
And to those wondering, yeah. Sorry, go
Seeing
ahead.
this hood here, a lot of volume came in there in the 67s and the 71s. That's where I see the big orders going through, like 5,000 shares, 3,000 shares. So I think someone's stepping up here. I want to see them get pressured immediately down towards 950. I'm going to try to scoop some shares up here at 950 and risk off the 940s. So let's see if we can get just a quick dip, and then I'll get in and then look for it to recover 60s. So let it test the 50 though, because it still hasn't tested it in my eyes. It's hitting the VWAP right now, and so that's the important part here. We'll see if it can test the 50, and then I can just get in there. Still hasn't tested it. It went down towards about 54. Definitely put the pressure on that guy that probably bought up at 67, but I wanted to touch the 50.
All right, Ryan, Mitch, you guys got any final thoughts?
Yeah.
Before we head out.
Yeah, I mean, watch the VIX as far as I'm concerned here. Sorry, trying to get in this TCAT trade here if we take out this level.
Yeah, let's bring up Brian's screen.
Yeah, do it.
I was watching Zyme here in TCAT. So what I'm looking for here is a 430 break. They've pulled it off this spot multiple times. They've actually brought in offers. So I'm actually, it's moving around pretty quick. So I actually just reduced my size a little bit here. But to me, it feels like this pops 430 and goes higher. That there's a big block at 428. Looks like they're trying to take that. Pulled off that spot here. They refilled that block. There we go. They took that out. So I'm going to long here. I'm going to try. There it is. Boom, baby.
Boom.
Boom, baby. And
Get out the way.
All right. So again, wait a sec. I had pulled up the wrong chart. You guys got to help me out here. Take it out. So here, let's just examine this real quick. You asked me for last thoughts. Let's just examine the trade here real quick. All right, red box. You can see that it's actually run up to this 430 level once in the pre-market and then 3 times on the minute chart, unable to break that and pulling off. Every time it gets pulled off the spot, it gets brought back up to the spot. So to me, that's it. As soon as this breaks, we're in. Took it, front ran it at 429, popped through it, sold it, trades over. So did exactly what we were hoping for. Took 4 attempts to get through.
All right, took a starter on hood there, guys. Going to take a little trade on hood. We'll see what happens.
All right, we got to hop, but Ryan Fluna, Mitch Hodge, a pleasure as always, guys. Thanks.
Peace and love, guys. Peace and love.
Right.
Take care. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.
All right, and if you're on Benzinga Pro, tune into the happy hour with Ryan Fluna. All right, before I bring on our first guest, just a quick plug. We are T-minus 2 weeks away from the FinTwit Summit in Vegas. I'm going to be there. Ryan's going to be there. Mitch might be there. We got some of the best minds in FinTwit that are going to be there. 2 days of trading, workshops, education. I'm going to drop a link in the chat right now. If I can find my chat, there it is. This is a link that I just got my hands on yesterday. It gets you $200 off. That link right there is in the chat. I'll even pin it to the chat at some point, or maybe Aaron Thomas can do that. Use that link, get $200 off. I don't know if that offer will last forever. So do it now. Is my point. It's in the chat. It's on the screen. All right. Let's bring on our first guest of the day, Dan Stiebel, the CEO of Save Foods. Tell us about the company. And again, what the point of this show, right? we're taking a step back away from the what we were just doing, away from the markets, away from the charts. We're actually hearing from these companies in greater than 5 minute snippets, right? We want to hear from them about their business, what's behind their growth, what challenges are they facing, give you a chance to interact with the CEOs as well, give you a chance to ask questions and hear directly from them in a relaxed, semi-long form environment. So let's bring Dan on the show right now. Dan Stiebel, welcome to All Access.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning to you as well, Dan. So I mentioned you're the CEO of Save Foods. It says it right there on the screen. Tell us about Save Foods, what you do, what is the problem here that you're working on, and then we'll get into it.
So basically, we're working on saving food and reducing waste. Save Food has developed an innovative and eco-friendly solution to reduce food waste, and we're doing that by extending the shelf life of fresh produce and also ensuring what we call food safety. And food waste is one of the main concerns today, especially in the view of what's happening in Russia, in the invasion of Ukraine, and also the COVID-19 had all this has a tremendous impact on waste and on how fruits and vegetables are reaching the end location. But I believe we'll talk about it a bit more in a second.
Is there any impact that you've seen so far from the invasion of Ukraine on the global food markets? We've seen food prices spike, obviously, but from your point of view?
Yeah, sure. So one of the main impact, except of the price, the higher price, is also the transportation issues. Access to different countries and mainly transportation time. You can add today between 2 to 3 weeks on top of the already 3 to 4 weeks that fresh produce has to come from one place to another. And the longer, the journey is, the more challenging it is, because the fruits arrive in pretty bad condition, and that fruit, won't be able to be sold, and therefore you're increasing the waste significantly.
I was looking at your investor deck, and you have the stat here: 46% of fruits and vegetables are never eaten. Almost half of fruits and vegetables are thrown out.
Crazy,
can that be right?
Yeah, it's crazy. The numbers are crazy, and it's a fact that I believe most of the people are not aware of it. And so, one of the solutions of this food crisis would be, okay, let's take advantage of what we are producing. There's no need to produce more. We just need to use what we are producing. And one of the way of doing that is by using our technology.
Let's get into that. What is the product here? What are we talking about right now?
So we are talking about a solution that is delivered in the form of a concentrated liquid, and it's used in packing house, really to extend the shelf life of these fruits and vegetables. Now, how we're doing that, we are addressing a big issue in the food industry, which are the pathogens. So we're really efficient about the plant pathogens. They are responsible for the food decay, but also efficient against the foodborne pathogen, like Salmonella, E. coli, and Listeria.
Yeah.
And therefore, being efficient against these pathogens, we are able to reduce the waste and extend their shelf life.
So we're talking just like a spray, right?
It could be used it could be used on a spray. What a very important point, and good you mentioning it. We are actually using the existing equipment of the packing house. So if it's used as a sprayer, so we'll use as a sprayer. If it's used as a wash, we'll use as a wash. It could be used as a fog in distribution centers of the retailers or even in storage room. So it's very, very easy, fast to implement. And I want to say also no additional cost for our customers, which is very important in this very traditional industry.
So I want to bring up a few images here as well. Can you give us some numbers here on how your product works and the effects that it has? Like how much longer will fruit or vegetables that have it stay fresh?
So let me address this slide, and I think what we show here is that we have applied a product with 75% less pesticide, and we achieve a longer shelf life. Now, why is that so important? Because consumer today, they want more natural product, and also they want transparency. So all the retailers, but also the regulation, they are now demanding and limiting and also monitoring the use of these pesticides. And what happened here is that it's becoming very challenging for all these packers, because these fungicides, they are used to protect the fruits and vegetables from these pathogens.
Right.
So once we are taking care of these pathogens, we are able to extend the shelf life. In terms of numbers, it can vary pretty much. We show on average 50% less waste at the retail level. In this specific case, we see that after almost 2 weeks in cold storage, we have 7 days additional shelf life compared to the current treatment. Here we see 60% less waste on avocado, which in terms of day, you can say it's almost 4, 5, and sometimes 6 days more days that they can have on the shelf life. And this is critical, right? Because the food that is not sold, end up in landfills. It costs money, and when you are able to sell them, you do two things: more revenues and savings also for the retailers.
When does this solution have to be applied? Like, is there a specific certain time? It's like a window of time where it's too late.
No, so I don't remember if I mentioned that, but our product and our solution is our natural product. It's green, so all of our ingredients are recognized as safe by the FDA. So it's really safe to use. And currently, we are applying it in the packing house, but we can apply it in all the food supply chain. So we can start in the field, in the packing house, then in the distribution centers, and even we're developing for the future also a solution for home use. The more you use, the better.
Can you give us a breakdown of your customers? And I mean, since you just mentioned home use, is that a big part of the business, or
Not yet?
Not yet.
Not yet. It's something we are still developing, and the main challenge here is the regulation. So it's a question of time. It's not really the development. It's the registration. The customers we are having right now is we are selling a product in California, in Mexico, in Israel, in Turkey, and we are running more than 20 trials as we speak. 20 pilots, sorry, not even trials, the commercial pilots in 9 locations around the globe. So and we're very proud is that so far we're experiencing 100% conversion rate from pilots to commercial activities.
What is a commercial pilot, where just a company agrees to test out your product for a few months?
No, not even a few months. No, it's not that long. It's mainly they want to test, because it's an industry, it's a very traditional industry. They never, for the last decade, there was no innovation, no new product. So you come with something, replacing fungicide, heavy chemicals that are working, treating pathogen. You're using, like, if I take the analogy from the medical world, you're using heavy chemical therapy,
Right.
and using with homeopathy. So, everyone is a bit want to make sure that it's working. So it's mainly a question around 3 to 5 weeks. Talking about a pilot, sometimes it can take a little bit longer, but usually, that's the range.
What kind of IP protection do you have? What is stopping me, or someone like me, someone smarter than me, to do the same thing?
So we have currently, as we speak, 9 patents, 6 pending application, and we have a wide range of IP covering method of use, composition. So that's one type of protection. We also have a lot of know-how and trade secrets, how to get, it's a chemical balance, so how to get to that chemical balance, and also how to produce it very cheap and very easily. So this is things that we are having in-house. And I would say also, if you try, and I believe people will do, It's a good sign. It means that we are working pretty well. We have a way also to detect if there is any infringement of our application.
How's that?
We have a small markers that we can put in the product that is completely safe. It's a natural ingredient. And, we are able to detect if someone is using our technology and infringing our IP.
I believe we talked about this last time, but this is what is the process for testing this on specific fruits and vegetables? I would is the onus on you, I guess, to see if it works, or is the onus on the end customer to be like, oh, well, it works for avocados, but it doesn't work so great for like pears?
No, so, because we are addressing the pathogen at the end of the day, the pathogens are very similar for all the fruits and vegetables. So we're pretty agnostics for the fruits and the vegetables we're treating. So far, we didn't meet any fruits or vegetables that we are not efficient. That's a really great advantage, because moving from one fruit to another is really fast and really easy. It's just adjustment of the protocols or
Nice.
the application.
Nice. Awesome. So what is the next big driver? You mentioned that you're in, I think, what'd you say, nine commercial trials right now? I think you said
20 commercial trials,
Okay.
9 locations around the globe.
Okay.
And the drivers are definitely.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So what's the next, like, aside from just, more sales and getting your product into more hands here? What is there like a new product pipeline, or what's the big driver here? What's the big catalyst?
So the first catalyst is definitely, that what we see is the need for all the agriculture and the packers to reduce the use of pesticide. So, we see an increasing demand. Europe, in some cases, are reducing significantly the residues allowed on fruits and vegetables. And in some cases, they are completely banning the use of some product. And therefore, there's a big challenge. How are you going to ship now, especially, with all the challenges we discussed around transportation. So this is really a big catalyst, because we see more and more companies and packers coming to us and asking, okay, can we please try the product and apply in our technology, because they have no solution today. And this is a big issue. Okay. We're speaking with South African packers. They say, okay, please come and save us. We need to send our product to Europe. How are we going to do it? Same in Peru or Colombia. And sometimes also in Mexico. So this is a big catalyst, the regulation, and also the need to meet some of the leading food retailers in the world. Because if the regulations say X, some of these retailers say, we don't want X, we want 50% of X, or sometimes even less. So the challenge is even bigger, depending on who you are selling to or which countries. So that's definitely one of the big catalysts to our growth. The goals is really, convert all the pilots into sales, and we continue developing more products.
Is there any taste effect here?
No taste effect, nothing. By the way, we have just tasted also on cannabis, so we, everything on the cannabis, which is very sensitive, and also on microgreens, very sensitive and tasty. It's no taste, no smell.
Can you sell to the end retailers, or is the focus mostly just like the distribution centers? I'm unfamiliar really. I know you kind of walked through it a little bit, but I know that the process from farm to store is a long and arduous one.
So our clients are the packing house so far as we speak, okay? But we definitely work with distribution center or distributors, the leading distributors, and also some of the leading food retailers in the US, because they have a how do I say that, they want to make sure that the fruits they arrive their destination are in the best quality possible, right? They want to sell everything they buy. So we're working with them. They are validating the technology, and then they're actually recommending all their supplier to use our product. So this is also a really big catalyst to grow, because once we will finalize all the 3 pilots we're having right now with these leading food retailers in the US and in North America, access to clients.
Yeah. What kind of like global, I don't know, regulatory incentives are there? Maybe from the UN or some other global body. Are there like monetary incentives that exist for a company like yours?
So yeah, there is in Europe. We have applied and we receive what we call the Seal of Excellence. We didn't receive the money; we were just below the points, but we were recognized as one of the leading technology. So the EU is providing money. I believe the UN as well. We are looking for, as we speak, there's no grant, but we know they are preparing some grants to support our initiative. Because one of the goal of the UN is to reduce food waste by 50% in the next 5 years, 5 to 7 years. Sorry, 7 years.
Is that even doable?
Using our technology, we can definitely be a big driver with that.
Walk into that. Yeah, I mean, I set you up for that one.
But really, we see great improvement and great changes, and I believe that slowly, the UN as well, we will start contacting these organization, and they will see what we're doing, and I believe,
Right. So Dan, if for whatever reason, you don't see the growth that you expect, why will that have happened? What will have happened to slow you down? What's the biggest roadblock for you?
So I don't know if it's a roadblock. I think what can slow it down is the registration of the product in the different location. It's not a challenge; it's just a process that we need to go. And we see a lot of a backlog in some of these places, like in Europe, Spain, Italy, because of the COVID, for example. So processes that were taking 9 months are taking now a year and a half. So I believe that we will receive soon our registration there as well. I believe this is only the thing that are slowing down our growth. And again, we just came back from a big conference in Germany, and we were amazed by the numbers of packers that were knocking on our door to say, hey, come and help us. Not only European, but everyone that was supplying, sending their product to Europe.
All right, I guess we'll, I'll be keen to follow you and see how the market for this grows. I imagine that your TAM, your total addressable market, is probably pretty large, but you of course exist in a small sliver of that right now. So be curious to see how things develop here. Dan Stiebel is the CEO of Safe Foods. Tickers up there on the screen. Dan, a pleasure as always. We'll talk to you again.
Thanks, Spencer. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
Right, same to you. Hey, before I bring on our next guest, I forgot to gravel, as they say. So if you're watching this and you have not hit that thumbs up button on YouTube or on LinkedIn or on Twitter or on Twitch, wherever you're watching this, just hit the thumbs up. Thank you. It takes 2 seconds. And hey, while you're there, you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, follow us on LinkedIn, on Twitch, go for it. Be my guest. I'm not going to say no to doing that. All right, let's bring on our second of 4 guests today. Actually, no, before I bring him on, I've got a quick video to play. So let's play that video, and then we can bring on our next guest.
Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe. It is found in almost every living thing.
It is impossible to have a net zero carbon future without hydrogen fuel.
We need to replace fossil fuels, combustion engines, and diesel generators all around the world.
We know that we need to have a better technology as a human race in order to go to where we want to go. But we're there.
Advent makes the engines of the future that convert hydrogen to electricity and clean energy.
No one has taken a fuel cell from the layup to the market like we have.
Fuel cells were used back in the 1960s in connection with the moon landings at NASA.
For years, there has been the promise of hydrogen to transform our world to clean energy. Advent has brought together the best-in-class scientists and engineers from all over the globe. Our mission is to fulfill that promise.
What makes Advent different is the type of fuel cell that we have created. Advent fuel cells can operate under extreme temperatures, humidity, and air quality, performing in places no other energy solution can. They can work on hydrogen as it comes in many different forms.
The other fuel cells need pure hydrogen, and that is very difficult to capture, to compress, and to move around. Advent can work with a variety of hydrogen-bearing fuels. This has a huge impact on places where there is no power grid and no hydrogen infrastructure.
When you think about how power is generated in the developing world, it actually is at many sites all around using very dirty sources like diesel or internal combustion engines.
Advent Technologies is making a huge impact today. We're replacing diesel generators and combustion engines with a product that is clean and helps solve the climate crisis.
The clock is ticking right now. This is why it's so important that Advent Technology is here. We can be deployed in the field today. We have systems in the field, and we could use fuels that exist today.
We're making it possible to decarbonize the world today.
All right, so let me bring on our guest here now, who can speak more to this because, hey, turns out he's the CEO of this company. Vasilis Gregoriou, he's here right now. Vasilis, good morning or good afternoon for you. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Spencer. Hi, everybody. Nice
All right, that video did a pretty good job of giving the high level overview here. But the first question I have when speaking to any hydrogen fuel cell or really even any green energy company is sell us on your specific technology, right? There are many other types of alternative energies, right? We know this, and within that umbrella is hydrogen fuel cells. And then within the hydrogen fuel cell umbrella, as your video kind of described, there's different ways of going about it. So sell us on why your way is the best way.
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I think you summarized it very well. Number one, hydrogen is going to be a very important contributor for the next, I would say, 20, 30 years in the energy mix. So that's undeniable. If it was one thing with the energy, the climate crisis, now we have energy crisis. Okay, so energy security and all that. I think people know it. So, and hydrogen is going to be there. So the hydrogen is related to the fuel cell. It needs a machine, quote unquote, to actually get the clean energy out. So basically, there are not that many technologies actually. There are, I would say, three, and we have invented one of them. And the good thing with us is that we work with hydrogen, but we work with other fuels that exist today, and that's important. So I think to me that's one, and it works in a very a big temperature range as well. So, for instance, batteries don't work everywhere. Okay. Our fuel cell works from minus 40 degrees to plus 55. So, military rated and all that. So it has certain advantages, and that's what we're pushing.
Can you give us that rundown though of the three main types of hydrogen fuel cells?
Yeah. One is called low temperature PEM fuel cells. They've been around for a long time. That's what the Toyota Mirai has in. They work only with pure hydrogen, ultra pure hydrogen. Okay, if you have a little bit of an impurity, we lose it. And then there is another one for bigger systems called solid oxide fuel cell, but you cannot make it economical for small applications. So we're talking about 300 kilowatts and up. So that's like for power station, if you will, backup power and all. So everybody's trying to get themselves where they can sell the most. Okay. The case with us is that we're the most flexible because we have a portable system, a 50-watt portable system that right now the military is buying because it's expensive for you and me, but it's a backup power that's expensive, but it makes missions possible. And then we go all the way up to 100 kilowatts on 5 kilowatt modules. So what is a 5 kilowatt module? It's like for a house, if you will. Okay, so you have backup power for telecom, for a house, wherever you don't have easy access to power, as the video also said.
So I understand that the use cases here are plenty, but or at least the potential use cases. But where are you actually selling this to and using it? What are you actually using it for outside of the military right now?
Yeah, this backup power telecom. When, let's say, for instance, in the Philippines, we have our biggest installations now in the hundreds of units, and there you have a telecom tower somewhere in the jungle. Our case makes the most case. Our proposition makes the best case there. Okay, in terms of clean energy, in terms of power density and things like that. However, our goal in this year, I don't know if you've seen some of our announcements lately, we work with the biggest automotive companies in the world to actually put this in a truck, basically, because the smaller car might be okay, meaning that we have a lot of electrical cars. I don't think the electrical is the solution to everything. However, for city and for small car, it's there is a proliferation of it. If you want to go to something bigger, if you want to go to a truck or to a heavy duty vehicle or anything, you cannot do it with battery alone. So then you need a fuel cell, basically, which is a range extender, and our high temperature PEM fuel cell works the best for reasons that we don't have time now to analyze, but you have to take my word for it, meaning that let's put it this way.
All right. Well, yeah. Give us a little bit of a teaser. I don't think we can get into all that.
The teaser is if you go from a small engine to a big engine, you need to cool it down. So the radiator becomes so big, or the battery, if you have a big truck and the battery is 80% of the weight, that's not an efficient truck. So that's why we don't have 18 wheelers running on batteries now, right? I mean, it's not like we don't have batteries or we don't have car manufacturers. So we're in development, but I think for us this will be our next big thing. Plus, if I may say that, the deal now is that there is a lot of interest in green hydrogen. So you have to keep that in mind. In the US, we have a lot of what's called gray hydrogen. We have a lot of hydrogen in petrochemical industry and things like that. We don't want that. We want green hydrogen, which is a destination fuel, the cleanest. Okay, it's just hydrogen that comes from electrolysis of water. And there we have, in our opinion, they're very, very good tech, but at an early stage. So we'll develop that as well.
I want to bring up this slide here. Just where are you in the production cycle right now?
Yeah, we produce, as I said, thousands of these, but the play here is that basically we're a tech company. Okay, so we have very good tech, world-class tech, and the play is that we will partner, and that's what we're doing right now, with somebody much bigger than us at these, the top markets, as I said before, and we will, sell mostly the component or part of the engine, if you will, and we get back revenue and royalties. So that's the play for going further up. However, at where we are right now, we do produce things. You can go and buy the stuff that I mentioned now. You can put an order and you can buy. Not many companies can say that in the fuel cell business. They're top companies, and you can actually put an order and buy. And we're one of them. You put an order and you buy some. But the growth model is the joint development agreement model with the giant, basically.
There was another slide I wanted to bring up here. Let me track it down because I thought I did a really good job of explaining just this was it, the sandbox that you play in, right? And so how where you stack up against the Ballard Powers of the world and the automotive makers and the aviation companies, and so I think this does a really good job of visually showing sort of where you are in that. And the big thing that jumps out to me is that we've already kind of discussed here is the versatility, right?
Yeah, we're very versatile in the fuel that we use. In the end, we have a hydrogen fuel cell, but we can take other things. And the other thing is the temperature range, which for me is very important also. So we're a smaller company than Ballard and Plug Power, but they're based on this low temperature PEM technology. It's a technology that, in my opinion, it's in the end of its development cycle. It's been around for 20 years, and they develop. We're a younger company, younger technology. So in our opinion, we have a better, proposition here to get even better. But in the end of the day, we need our, we need the time to perfect it. As I said, everybody's trying to sell on their strength, and for us, our strength is, as I said now, portable, backup power, and tomorrow the automotive.
Why is a company like Ballard Power gone about it their way, and why have you gone about it your way?
I think you have to ask Ballard why they got their way. I think historically, keep in mind that these things were developed before us. We developed this technology in the lab after, Ballard was around, I guess Bloom also was around because the technology, the salt oxide, is from a long time ago. And we discovered in the lab something that would actually allow, to be on the sweet spot, if you will. So for me, I will never have a company in these technologies because, in my opinion, at the time, we didn't have good access to hydrogen. So we needed something which is more flexible. We have hydrogen, works with hydrogen, but it has to work with something else. And for us, that something else right now is methanol. E-methanol, I don't know if you've heard of e-fuels and all that, carbon neutral fuels. In my opinion, they will be a big part of the future. And keep in mind, all of these things, for us and for Ballard and for Plug and for Bloom and everybody else, don't think of hydrogen only as a, as a gas. If we compress or we liquefy, think it as a raw material to make green stuff, green fertilizer, green plastics, and use it in automotive and everything. So it will be a green economy based on hydrogen. And I say that because first, Europe for sure, after all the commotions of the last few months, will invest heavily in hydrogen, okay? Because hydrogen plus, the renewables, there is a source of energy independence there, okay? And as I said before, it's a destination fuel. Natural gas is still dirty, okay? It is a still dirty gas. I mean, it's a little bit better than, fossil fuels, but still it's a fossil fuel, all right? But hydrogen is a destination gas. And I think we're going to be there because we supply now the both sides of the coin. The fuel cell that actually uses the hydrogen to make the clean energy, but also technology to make water electrolysis cheap, because the problem so far was electrolysis was expensive. Green hydrogen is much more expensive so far was gray hydrogen, something that comes from a petrochemical, process.
That kind of leads into my next question, right? Which was how speak a little bit about your ability to control your costs. How much are you sort of at the mercy of the cost of, whether it's just global supply chain things or even just raw materials? Oh, I think we have an internet disruption for Vasilis. So let's see if we can get that worked out. He appears to have frozen on the screen. Oh, wait. Is he back? Vasilis, are we back? Thumbs up if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
I hear you very well. I don't know if you hear me.
I hear you now, which is good. So, okay. My question was, based on what you just said, I was hoping you could talk more about your ability to just control costs. It's sort of, everyone is on top of mind right now is sort of inflation on all sides, and just speak a little bit about your ability to control your costs and how sensitive you are to that.
As a company or as a product?
Yeah, both.
Listen, as a company, we're trying to go as far as we can with what we have, right? Knowing that this is a difficult situation, the markets are red and everything. However, I think we're in a very good space, so I feel very confident for the future. Now, regarding the product, the two ways. One is we're trying to make it better, so we get more out of it and make it last longer. And the second thing is that we get long-term supply agreements with our suppliers, so we get economies of scale and things like that as we grow, with basically the customer base.
If there are any questions for Vasilis on Advent or even just about hydrogen fuel cell, I highly recommend you take this moment to ask away, because Vasilis, I haven't brought this up yet, but you've got 35 years experience in renewable energies, right?
Yeah. No, we have a very, very strong team. I mean, personally, myself, I've been involved with it, almost all my life. I'm a chemist by training. You know that I turned to a businessman, but so I understand these things. We have invented many things that are really revolutionary. The chief technical officer also is well-known American electrochemist. So we have a very strong team, and we have about 200 patents. So for a relatively smaller company, we're very strong technically, and I think that's, in my opinion, are where the confidence comes that we will basically figure it out. Like we will produce the product slowly but surely that people want for the right markets, and then I think the growth will be exponential here.
Do you have specific industries or markets, I guess, that you're targeting, but it's not quite there yet?
No, as I said, the backup power is there, and of course we
Okay.
sell to places that they want us. When you have a bad grid or you have a low grid or things like that, we're there now. And I think that's what we're selling the most. The other thing, as I said, is the portable. The product is ready, but it's a little bit more expensive. So it's really for surveillance, military, things like that. Me and you will not buy a very expensive battery charger, but if the cost comes down, we will. And the next thing, as I said, because there we're talking about a very, very, very big market, is automotive, mobility, if you will, altogether. And automotive, don't think of a small car. Automotive, mostly for us, is the bigger cars now, the heavy trucks and everything, because we think electrification will be there. You will have an electric powertrain, you will have battery. So we're talking about a hybrid system, and we bring in what's missing from the battery. So what's missing from a battery car? It's missing range and refill time. All right, you need to fill in 3 minutes. You don't want to fill in 3 hours, and you need to go 800 kilometers. You don't want to go 200 kilometers. So as a range extender, the Advent fuel cell works very well.
Here's a question from the chat. Donkin Dave was hoping you could speak a little bit more about the energy efficiency of your fuel cells.
That's a very good question. The fuel cells in general, because they're electrochemical devices, they're very efficient. So let's say an internal combustion engine is 30% efficient. We're talking about here 45%. Plus, we get 45% thermal. So in a way, it's a 90% efficient machine, because we try to use the thermal as much as we can, cool the stack down and everything. So it's a very efficient machine.
All right, Vasilis Gregoriou is the CEO of Adivan Technologies. Ticker was up on the screen there. It's ADN. And Vasilis, thanks for joining us today. I know it's a little bit later for you on this Friday, and we will be keeping tabs, and good luck going forward.
Thank you, Spencer. Thank you, everybody, and
right.
Looking forward to the discussion. Bye. Thank you.
All right. Let's move things right along. But before I bring on Grant Smith from Pond Technologies, going to once again mention the fact that we're 2 weeks out from the FinTwit Summit. I think I've broken a record here. 2 different ways to get a discount. You can use the discount code on the screen, BZYouTube20, or use that link that my producer pinned to the top of the YouTube chat here that gets you $200 off your ticket. May 13th and 14th it'll be here soon, like 2 weeks from today. So I'll be there. Will you, is the question. I guess I'll find out when I show up. All right, let's bring on Grant Smith now, the CEO of Pond Technologies. Another clean tech play here. Let's get Grant on the show. Grant, what's going on?
Hey, good morning. Good
How
to
are we
be
doing
here.
today? Doing well?
Yeah, doing well. How are you guys?
Doing fantastic. So before we get to the company really and what you're working on,
Sure.
I wanted to lead with, because it's not very often that, like, we have a company on. Sometimes it happens. We'll have a company on and they have news. That's happening here right now because you had some news out yesterday. What was the news you announced, and why should we care?
Sure. Well, I like to call it maybe part one of a series of press releases. So
Okay.
yesterday was quite significant, and I think we should probably back up. There was an earlier press release with AB Agri. So, knowing what we do, we are a clean tech. We take CO2, we funnel that into tanks where we grow algae with light water and CO2. AB Agri is an off-taker to Pond. They're a project partner. They have an appetite for large amounts of algae. They have a number of facilities globally that have a CO2 problem. So we're going to take their CO2 from one of their sugar factories and we're going to grow algae. AB Agri sells that algae into animal feed and fish feed globally. They're a top 20 global animal feed player. The biocarbon press release yesterday, combined with AB Agri, is a joint study with one of AB Agri's and Pond's, future potential partners. They're unnamed, but it's a major agribusiness company that wants to reduce methane in cattle by putting that into the cattle's feed. So you have, a whole team now working together between Pond Biocarbon and AB Agri to develop algae-based formulas that'll reduce methane in cattle.
From your point of view, Grant, how long does it take for a deal like that? Because deals like this are very significant to a company like yours. How long does it take for a deal like that to really materialize?
Sure, good question. We got a little bit of a head start. There's two different types of algae. There's macroalgae and microalgae. We grow microalgae in containers, which would just be what you'd see on a pond or in your swimming pool. But macroalgae is like kelp. It's sort of like seaweed. So there's already been work done with seaweed fed to cattle that has shown a reduction in methane. It's a lot easier to grow CO2-based algae and a lot more economical because we can reduce that carbon and we can grow at scale. So what I mean by scale is we could take 100,000 tons of CO2 and grow 50,000 tons of algae. That algae is 2,000 to 3,000 a ton. That's $100 million worth of algae. That goes into the supply chain for cattle, and then you further reduce methane in cattle significantly. You've also further reduced arable land farming, because now we've just made a significant reduction in the amount of corn and soy that needs to be fed to the cattle. The cattle's more efficient. They use about 10% less feed by putting that algae in their diet, and we've reduced arable land farming. So we're touching, clean tech, ag tech. We're in a very, very hot area right now. And that's why, to answer your question, this project will move along quite quickly. The plans are to run a study and show that it works, and then move to a full large-scale plant in combination with this unnamed partner.
This is so interesting because, like, I still remember when I learned that, like, cow farts were causing global warming.
It's
I was like,
unbelievable.
I was like, what? Cow farts
Yeah.
are making the
And burps.
and burps are making the earth hotter. And so maybe you can explain a little bit about, because it's still not quite clear to me how this actually works.
Sure. Well, let's back up and look at algae. So if you were stuck on a desert island and you had water and spirulina, which is basically a green algae, you could survive. Algae is actually the perfect superfood. Algae globally provides O2 to the planet. Algae is the building blocks of life. And if you look at spirulina, it is 66% protein, full broad spectrum amino acids, vitamins, minerals, all essential, and omega-3 fatty acids for brain.
So is algae edible? Hold on, sorry. Is algae edible?
Yeah, 100%. So there's different strains of algae, and you use algae in your toothpaste in the morning in the form of maybe a thickener like a carrageenan. You may not even know that. And algae is really finding its way into the market today, where you have major CPGs looking for vegan protein. That vegan protein, if you're a Unilever, if you're a Nestle, if you're a Campbell's Soup or anyone like that, you're looking for a sustainable, clean, green source of protein in terms of filling all these future vegan entrees and everything that all these major CPGs do. Okay. In addition to the wellness industry, which is just, booming in terms of beauty from within or organic, the movement to wellness and organic, because you're seeing companies like Nestle and Unilever take that stride. So algae can find its way off of a clean smokestack, a distillery, a brewery, a natural gas power plant. That's just clean. An ethanol plant, those are clean sources of CO2. We take that significant CO2 reduction, we're essentially monetizing a waste stream, and we're growing algae. That algae can find its way into Beyond Meat, Impossible Burger. You can have vegan chili that you get at, here in Canada, Tim Hortons, and, I think you have that in Detroit. So you know what I mean? But you're going to have all of these major companies looking for sustainable, reliable, consistent sources of protein. Currently, all the algae is grown in the world, basically in Asia, predominant Asia area or region, India, China, and it has pollutants. It has heavy metals in the groundwater. You have monsoons, which are hurricanes. You have issues. I'll give you another example. There's an outdoor algae farm in Hawaii. Well, they had major contamination from the volcanic ash in Iceland that just came across the atmosphere and dumped into their outdoor ponds. So our technology removes all of that. Our technology has a patent around light water and CO2. Anyone connected to a stack gas infringes on our patent to grow algae. So we have a very slick technology. We have an AI system that helps that algae grow fuller, faster. We can tweak the lights. We can tweak the growth to grow different types of algae, because not all algae grows the same. Different temperature. Some algae likes a red light versus a blue light. And we can use all that to grow algae at scale.
So these are just like tanks that will just go over the top of any emissions, smokestack, whatever, and then what? So the tank captures the emissions, and then you take it and bring it. You have to bring it to one of your facilities, or
so think of the tanks as a large aquarium. You see aquarium, you see the little bubbles coming up. Okay. So we'll have an aquarium-sized tank. It could be 1,500 liters, depending on the algae that we're growing. It could be smaller, because we grow some specialty algae where we don't need 1,500 liters of it. There's proteins we can extract in algae that are quite expensive. So we can customize and tailor the tank size. But picture 20 liters all the way to 1,500 liters. So the size of several large drums.
Oh, and it all happens right there.
It happens right there. Okay, so that algae starts to grow. And as the CO2 is coming in consistently, that algae grows really, really quickly. So once that algae is up to speed, think of it almost like skimming a little bit off the top. And then that algae grows really, really quickly. We de-water the algae. We put the water back in. So we're recycling water. We're far less land, labor, water, less fertilizer, et cetera, to grow these algae, ingredients. And what we're doing is we're skimming right off the top. So on site, the algae, when it's sort of dried, it goes into a spray dryer, it gets pelletized, it goes into different types of drying depending on the application. In some instances, that algae can stay as a paste, and it can just be frozen and shipped to an extraction facility. So it's very customizable, but typically algae is spray dried into a green powder, and then that would be added into human food, animal feed, fish feed. And as I mentioned, there's many types of algae, and some algae is used to make salmon pink. So if the salmon don't get that type of algae in their diet, salmon would be white. So currently, there's a huge issue globally where salmon are fed an artificial red color in their feed at all the fish farms. So we can grow through CO2, and I'll give you a great example. We're in talks with a group in Europe where we will take all the parts of the salmon that can't be used. That is incinerated, turned into CO2. We'll capture that CO2 and we'll feed algae back to the salmon. So we're growing an algae specific that is needed in order for salmon to have proper, health, proper color. And you don't want to be eating salmon with an artificial red color in it.
It's just so interesting because my parents had a pool in their backyard growing up, and so I would have to vacuum that, and algae was the enemy. Algae was the bane of our existence for me growing up, and now, so I never bothered to learn or even care about what algae actually is or even what it can do, because to me it was like, no, green is bad, no.
Yeah.
So,
No, I know.
so-
And it's funny, I studied all this in university like 25 years ago. And it's just amazing to see algae come into the limelight. Like algae's sexy. It started out as biofuels. Then we looked at bioplastics and we looked at making sandals or running shoe foam from algae. So we're reducing textiles and plastics and ingredients like that. But now with this Beyond Meat, with this whole vegan movement,
yeah.
and with the realization on 2 Netflix documentaries, which I think all viewers should watch. They're not 100% accurate, but they're interesting. Seaspiracy and Cowspiracy. So we play off these things. So Seaspiracy, we can grow algae that the fish eat without taking a fish out of the ocean. So we could create fish oil, but it'll be vegan algae oil that's used in heart health pills and pharmaceuticals and nutraceutical companies. And we can grow that in our algae tanks. Why do we need to overfish the oceans, kill all the fish to squeeze a little oil out of them and put it into pills for people's heart health and brain health? So that's Seaspiracy. And Cowspiracy is what we talked about earlier with AB Agri and our recent press release, where we can grow algae that can help reduce the vertical farming of corn, soy, and grasses. You can rotate a little algae, 1% to 2% into the animal's diet. The animals are growing fuller and faster. We're getting early results with major US universities we're working with, and we're testing chickens. They're actually getting more weight per bird at 6 weeks. Because if you think about it, we're feeding them a nutraceutical. Algae is a perfect superfeed, 66% protein. Corn is about 9% protein, and soy is about 28, 29, less than 30% protein. So when you add 1% to 2% of this super feed algae to the animal's diet, look at the results. So it's a way for us to help, solve the planet's CO2, but also feed the planet, where we're able to, whether it's feed or even human ingredients into, like I mentioned, that Beyond Meat product, all with algae.
So maybe let's get down to like the timelines here, because the PR that you released yesterday talked about a research agreement. So how far away are we from actual commercially viable products?
Great question. We have a number of projects in the funnel. Our phone is ringing. We continue to get more companies asking us to say, well, could you grow this type of algae? And I'll give you an example. We signed a major oil and gas company, and they were working on algae for cleaning up oil sands, cleaning up tailings ponds, and so on and so forth. What we're doing here at head office is we're running these large-scale trials. So we have a number of different size photobioreactors here, from, I mentioned, 20 liters to 1,500 liters. We grow the algae, we send it back to them, and they're doing further work with it. We own our own small astaxanthin facility in Vancouver, British Columbia. We actually produce that and we sell that into I'd call the wellness or that nutraceutical industry. It's a very specialized red algae. But the large scale projects with AB Agri, we've just finished the engineering and design stage. So we're moving to construction of a $2 million large pilot plant in the UK connected to the British sugar CO2. That will be used for all formulation development research in the UK with AB Agri. And that plant will be completed Q4 2022. When that's successful and up and running, we then expect in 2023 a full-scale plant with AB Agri. The other press releases and what we just talked to, the other projects we're working on, similar fashion. In most cases, it's that type of runway. But on the potential methane reduction, if that study's successful, which we think it will be, that will move to a commercial plant. There'll be no need for a pilot plant, because we're actually, we've almost got a small pilot plant here in our lab.
So realistically, we are talking like a several year out time horizon from when we're going to be talking about real revenues and
yeah. I mean, we have a number of projects and they work sort of like this, Spencer. So we have a license fee up front, and then we sell the black box. So we're selling equipment, we're selling engineering services, design, a little bit of necessary parts that you need to buy, i.e. the photobioreactors, the lights, the system, the AI, the software. And then in perpetuity, we receive a royalty in the back end.
Okay.
So with AB Agri, we did receive a significant $1 million license fee up front. It's paid in milestones. We then are selling them equipment and we're helping build that pilot plant. So that'll bring in another several $1 million in revenue. And then every ton of algae that's grown, we receive a royalty, negotiable 3 to 5% depending on the project. So that's our business model. We don't want to own a pond, 25 plants around the world. We might own one or two because we do have a lot of customers that are asking us for a specific type of algae, and we're working with a number of companies to do that. But that's really our model. So to answer your question, in a roundabout way, if we were to move forward on that methane reduction project, we're preparing samples of algae. They're going to that partner with AB Agri. They're running the methane trials. They have, ways that they can put a cow in a chamber and then measure the output. If that's deemed successful, which we feel it will be, the next step is a commercial plant. And our plants are interesting because we can put them into an existing building. We can use, depending on the temperature and the location of where it is, you don't need a major, huge construction. We can often just put our tanks into an area, or we can do modular construction. And that's what we're working on right now so that we can turn it around quite quickly. But I think 2024 is our breakout year. I think 2023 and the latter half of 2022, we have a number of projects. We definitely have revenue coming in. I mean, we did 5 million last year, and we'll continue to grow that number. But I think the big year is 2024 when you really see, the projects move forward.
Got it. And not having to build all these plants yourselves probably does wonders for your margins and your costs. So not having to do that.
Certainly. I mean, license fees are pure margin. So, we'll have some great quarters where all of a sudden there's $1 million and it's 100% margin. But, we've worked hard for over, I guess, 8 to 10 years developing the tech and getting the company to where we are today. And now we're in that, commercialization mode.
Who exactly are you competing with here?
That's a good question. We have a number of people that play in similar areas. As I mentioned, if it's algae, we are, competing against people outdoor, and that there's no comparison. I mean, what we can do in a day takes them 8 weeks, and the amount of CO2 and how we can scale. There's no one that has that technology, and we have a moat around it. So we believe that we're pretty solid there. I think we're competing against other types of carbon capture, CCU and CCS. I mean, that market will be $7 billion by 2028. And I think pond is, we're part of that solution because the carbon taxes, and this will be an accelerant to people looking at pond. You're going to pay to pollute. We've got a viable solution that takes carbon. We turn that into an ROI by growing algae. So I'll give you an example. If you build a $20 million plant and we grew $10 million of algae at 50% margin, so you've got, $5 million a year. After 4 years, you've paid back your plant. You've also kept your carbon credits. You've done some marketing to say you're the cleanest, greenest natural gas or cement company or brewery, in the US. So there's a lot to the benefits of what we're doing. And with AB Agri, just for viewers, a lot of people say, well, who takes the algae? And that's the significance of this partner in AB Agri. They have an appetite globally for hundreds of tons of algae that gets put into animals' feed. And the beauty is we're reducing that arable land farming, where we're tilling the soil, releasing CO2. We're using tons of fertilizer. And we have a real problem right now. There's a nitrogen fertilizer-based shortage. And farmers in the US are planting what? Whatever grows with less nitrogen. So I just read that article yesterday. Soy crops are on the rise. Corn are on the decline. Corn's the major feed for what? Cattle. So there's a need for algae here. And we really believe we're part of that solution.
That's interesting. I mean, I know about fertilizer, but I didn't realize that I didn't go one step deeper into that. So I did not know about that changing of the growing patterns.
And there are types of algae that can help fertilize. So we were working with a group in Holland.
Man, what can algae do? Honestly,
Remember,
Grant,
it's the building blocks of life. So there's a group in Holland that is having an issue where all of the fertilizer is running off quickly into the dikes. It's not staying on the land. So they're looking at alternative fertilizers, natural organic fertilizers. Algae puts life back into the soil.
Man, I learned more about algae in the last 20 minutes than I did in the first 30 years of my life. But all right, Grant Smith, the CEO of Pond Technologies, trades on the Toronto Venture Exchange and in the US on the OTCQB. Grant, we'll definitely be in touch down the line and be Very curious, and you gave us a timeline. 2024 is the breakout year. So
Thank you.
we'll be following the company, and have a great rest of your day. And thanks for coming on All
Thank
Access today. All right, let's bring it to our final guest of All Access here today. But it is not the last of things to come, because of course we have Benzinga Live coming up after this show. Big interview on Benzinga Live today. You may have seen we're talking to the Qualcomm CFO, but that's not right now. Right now we're talking to Travis Mickle, who's the president and CEO of KemPharm. Let's get Travis on the show right now. Travis, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to All Access.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Spencer.
All right, let's start with the easy question here. Whenever you talk to or you're looking into a biotech or a healthcare company or a pharmaceutical company, oh, they make drugs. All right, what is in that pipeline of yours?
Yeah, you did start off with the good one, right? So, we have a number of different things, and our second product was just approved last year for ADHD. So we have 2 partnered products already out there, but we've been focusing now on CNS rare diseases. And our lead product in that space is actually referred to as KP1077, which is for the treatment of idiopathic hypersomnia. And you may be familiar with narcolepsy and related sleep disorders. This one's even worse. There's not a lot of treatments. There was one approved last year that kind of helps consolidate some of the sleep and improve some of the symptoms. But these individuals really do suffer from a truly debilitating disease where they just can't get any refreshing sleep. Even if they slept 12, 14, 16 hours and took naps, it's just a continuous fog and inability to get that sleep. But go ahead.
No, so how does that this is the KP1077, right? That's
right.
That's in phase 2 trial right now. It's in a trial for the narcolepsy and the idiopathic hypersomnia, right? It's 2 different trials for that.
Well, the actual trials will start shortly.
Okay.
We're saying the second half of this year. The nice thing is, though, is that we're using in part the same active ingredient that was in our Astaris product that was approved last year. So we already have in part this product approved. We know, how to make it. We know its, certain properties of how it behaves in a human. And so we can skip a lot of those steps, and then we jump right into a phase 2, but we'll jump right from there into a phase 3 trial. So not a lot of additional work that needs to be done other than these clinical trials.
So sticking on the KP1077 here is just what can you just talk about the size of that market? How many people suffer from narcolepsy and idiopathic hypersomnia, and what options are out there?
Well, for idiopathic hypersomnia, this is even more rare than narcolepsy. It's about 40,000 individuals that they believe are afflicted with the disease. In this particular instance, there's one approved product. There are a lot of off-label uses of current stimulants like methylphenidate or amphetamine or modafinil. But those products, we hear, and we've done research and others have as well, patients just aren't satisfied with that. Same goes with narcolepsy. About 200,000 roughly patients in this space. There's been treatment available for years. It does work well, and it does help a lot with the symptoms. But on top of that, folks still have to take a number of different stimulants in order to stay awake during the day and control their symptoms. So it's a big opportunity when you think about rare disease, and that's primarily because of the price involved with some of these products.
So just again, what will your drug do that is different?
Well, that's where we feel that we've really kind of learned from all the past here. So for idiopathic hypersomnia, there's 2 major symptoms that are not well controlled by the off-label or the approved products. And one of those is sleep waking, or, upon waking, sleep inertia, sorry. Folks have a horrible time trying to get out of bed. And you can imagine if you never got rested sleep, it's going to take some time to do that. So we want to be able to stimulate those individuals. So they essentially will take a dose of our KP1077 the night before as they're starting to sleep. Yeah, that was the previous slide. As they're starting to sleep, that actually starts to raise as you're trying to reach that 6 a.m., 8 a.m., 10 a.m. level. So these are levels of methylphenidate that are released as they're waking. So along that day, when they get up, when they're able to actually take their next dose, that's going to help them with their second primary complaint, which is brain fog. Brain fog, I think we've all had this, maybe we can call it a sleep hangover. Might also be another term that's used, again, slang term in this particular instance, but the inability to function at a high executive level. And, we've spoken to KOLs, we've spoken to patients. This isn't something that any of us have really probably endured. This is where they actually fear to drive, fear to do any sort of high level activity where they may not be able to concentrate fully, may not be able to make a clear decision. It affects their social life and so forth. So what we've done is, with the 2-dose approach, now we're able to control their symptoms throughout the day, bring them down to a lower level at night so they can actually get restful sleep, and effectively, are able to control their symptoms throughout the entire day.
All right. And is this the main core of the company right now, of KemPharm? This is the pipeline, or are there others?
There's others behind it. We discussed recently on our earnings call that we're actually going to add another candidate to this sleep disorder pipeline. There's a couple opportunities here, something that primarily would be additive to 1077, so it wouldn't be competitive with this particular space. We have explored stimulant use disorder, and I say explored because this is a difficult area to work in. There's been a lot of companies who have tried, a lot of research foundations. These are folks that are addicted to stimulants. And, we completed a phase 1 trial here. We have discussed publicly that we're going to get additional collaborations and funding for this program external to KemPharm, because it doesn't make sense for us to focus our effort. It just, nailing down these patients is one of the most challenging things I think I've been involved with. They just don't show up again if you get them to show up at all. And that's just we have greater opportunities right in front of us. We'll get those that are able to do that, to do those studies in the future for us.
So just looking at this table here, obviously what sticks out to me is the focus on the rare sleep disorders. We have a number of milestones coming in the back half of the year, right? So everything would seem to be pointing towards, again, Q3 for the idiopathic hypersomnia, Q4 you're saying for the narcolepsy type 1, type 2. That's, to be clear, the timeline there is, that's the beginning of those phase 2 trials?
It is,
Okay.
but each one of these sort of has other nuances. So the study that we're going to be conducting in idiopathic hypersomnia, we're going to have an interim readout on that, mainly from the open label, or the titration phase, as it's known. That will read out, we're believing, sometime either late in the year or early part of next year. We'll also have actual interim data showing the difference versus placebo for that same trial. We'll use that data to actually start the narcolepsy trial and use both to support the approval of those. So we're kind of moving towards a product that could address both, that could be potentially approved at the same time, or roughly thereof. So a great slide to bring up in this particular case. One of the other features that I didn't really touch on for idiopathic hypersomnia in 1077 is this differentiation trial that we have, this phase 1 cardiovascular study. And this study is to help show not just ourselves and the agency, but as well payers in the future, physicians, that this product, even though it's a stimulant, you can dose it much higher than you can with conventional stimulants. And that's due to its release profile and how we designed the product to actually perform throughout the day. And so with that, higher doses equal higher efficacy. And that's well understood, as long as the patient can tolerate it. And this study is really there to show that it's well tolerated, even at these very high doses.
Why are you focused on what you're focused on, right? Rare sleep disorders, like you said yourself, are not they exist, but they're not the most common disorders. And stimulant use disorders are, as you also said, extremely difficult to find patients to study. So, Why have you chosen these avenues?
Well, historically, we've gone after unmet need. And in the past, that's been in very large areas. So our first kind of foray into this, product development stage has been in abuse deterrent pain products, mainly opioids. And what we all know, and you can imagine the cringe that everybody has when you talk about abuse deterrents and when you talk about opioids. The product was ultimately approved and partnered, Apidaz as it's known, but that's a massive market. Literally, like hundreds of thousands of physicians will write those types of products. So not something that we could readily commercialize. Now, when we moved into ADHD, it's a similar thing. Not hundreds of thousands, but many physicians will write for ADHD products. And when we think about our evolution, we're saying, well, let's find an unmet need where we have a high probability of being able to commercialize these products without seeking an external partner. We still can, but we want to be able to get all of the upside from these products. And historically, rare diseases have been something that everyone's been, really successful at least initiating commercialization and moving products through if they have some differentiation and help patients.
Have you gotten any special designations or incentives? Because again, we're talking about rare diseases here.
We just kind of kicked off that whole process. Okay. As we've announced back in January, moving everything full steam on 1077. Obviously, we're going to apply for an orphan drug designation, a fast track. At some point, we may apply for a breakthrough. These things are very helpful. We would expect, though, we also, once we submit our NDA, that we would get to go through the accelerated pathway to a potential approval so that you can expedite that. I think it goes from 10 months to 6. And then another kind of feature that I also didn't quite touch on is that this is the only methylphenidate containing product anywhere that is a class 4 or schedule 4, which means
what does that mean? Yeah.
Good question. It means it actually has less propensity for abuse as determined by the FDA and DEA versus that of other methylphenidates, which are all schedule 2. And a schedule 2 means you got to get a new script every month. It means you have to go, actually, in most cases, have to see your physician physically, as well as actually go in and pick it up monthly. There's no refills available. For a schedule 4, you get refills up to 6 months. You can, that makes it much simpler, and something we think, maybe not as much in rare diseases, but as we think about applying this in the future, I think there's a great opportunity to move that ahead.
But this would still require our prescription, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's still a prescription drug. It still has a propensity for abuse too. Scheduling doesn't mean it's not abusable.
Right.
Folks will find a way, but it's going to be very difficult and maybe not successful at it.
All right, so you've got trials coming up, and with trials comes the inevitable question. Then come the results. Then comes the question about funding. So obviously, you can't speak about specific funding actions, but just broadly about like the balance sheet right now and how comfortable you are with that.
Well, we went through kind of a transformation last year. Actually, if you go all the way back to 2020 and even prior to that, the company was in a very difficult position. We had a fair amount of debt and we had very little capital. What we did have was a product that was moving towards approval, and we had a good partnership as well as the potential to earn milestones and royalties in the future. So what we're able to do is actually re-uplist last year, get rid of our debt, bring in some additional capital, recapitalize the company, and then successfully get the product approved, which helped our fortunes again from that note. And now we're sitting on greater than $120 million in cash, more than enough to develop our pipeline that we have internally. And what that's allowed us to do, and for the first time in our history, actually look outside of our walls at other opportunities, other phase 2 or later assets that can expedite our own ability to create value and maybe even be synergistic or adjacent to our current focus in sleep disorders.
If there are any questions in the chat for Travis Mickle, the president and CEO of KemPharm, I would recommend you speak now or forever hold your peace. Here's a question that I've talked to dozens of drug company executives over the years, but I've never asked this question, which is, what exactly goes into a successful drug trial?
Oh my goodness, a lot of heartache, a lot of sleepless nights, and a lot of work. Successful trials, you're really putting a lot on the line. We mitigate that. We've always tried to mitigate that as best we could because our technology is we start with approved products. And so we're able to really just focus on how is the product different, better, safer, whatever the attributes are that we're looking at. So we cheated a little bit and we know it's going to be effective. We just have to really operationally make sure it's 100% perfect. There can be no ambiguity about the results because the agency is not going to give you any leeway. The FDA is going to say it's already approved, right? This is kind of what you get.
Okay, we got a couple questions in the chat. We'll go to Torn66 first. Can you comment on Quorium's national rollout for Astaris?
Well, I gave an update a few weeks ago, and I think that's probably the most relevant still. They're on track to kind of do everything they need to do. They doubled their sales force at the beginning of the year. They were able to get the product on a full national launch. I believe they may even be adding others to the sales force. They're in a lot of pharmacies, which I believe is really an utilized sort of metric when you think about a successful launch. If you can't, a doctor can write it and a payer can pay for it, but if you can't pick it up at the pharmacy and get it to the patient, it's kind of just useless. You just wasted a lot of time and effort. Made good progress with payers, 2 of the largest 3. Fingers crossed when they get that third one in, because I think that's going to be the impetus to really push hard to get scripts in. But at the end of the day, we're a development company. We get royalties and milestones from them, and we trusted them to commercialize the product and still do. I believe they're doing a great job.
And then Born to Be Free wants to know, how strong is your sales team?
I know many of them. Many of them have been at Shire/Takeda or other companies that have launched and successfully commercialized ADHD products. This is a top-notch team there at Quorium. They know what they're doing. And it really starts with Perry Sternberg, the CEO, goes down to their head of market access in John Neely. These guys are no slouches. They're doing it right. And that sometimes means you're going to be a little bit slow at first, but they are actually building what will be a more successful product that way.
One more just came in. I don't know, Groovine Roscoe. Not quite sure how I pronounced that. Is there any more revenue expected from the China deal? This is from a couple of years ago, right?
It's actually, I believe they signed it at the end of last year, and this is again our partner. So there's certain limitations and restrictions. I can't speak about anything that would be confidential. So anything you would have found out in a press release or what we've already disclosed is the limitation of what I could say.
That's fair enough. Yeah, that's the challenge also of talking to public company executives is your hands are tied. I understand that in a lot of ways, which stinks for people like me, but there's only so much that you are legally allowed to say, which I understand why those rules exist, but it also makes my job less fun sometimes. Travis Mickle is the president and CEO of KemPharm. You can see the ticker up on the screen there. Travis, a pleasure to chat. Thanks for joining us on All Access today, and we will be following up with you down the line.
Yeah, thank you, Spencer. Thanks, everyone.
All righty. All right. Well, that is a wrap for the show. Here's what's about to happen. I'm going to hop off here, and we've got a little bit of a break, about a half-hour break until Benzinga Live. And today is a show that we are looking forward to. We have been looking forward to for several weeks because T-minus 1 hour, noon Eastern time, We're talking to the CFO of Qualcomm, one of the biggest guests we've had on that show. So I'm very excited. They blew it away with their earnings report Wednesday afternoon. Just absolutely crushed it. We're going to talk about their business, the growth behind it, how it's growing, global supply chain challenges, all that stuff. So that'll be at noon. The show will start at 11:30, then we'll just go from there, myself and Aaron Bree. Before I go, I want to once again thank the sponsor for All Access, Ticker, TIICKER.com/Benzinga. You should check them out.
What is Ticker? For stock perks, for connecting you to public companies. Where investors discover shareholder perks and consumers become investors in the brands they love. Ticker. Start.
Go to that link on the screen, ticker.com/Benzinga, create your account connected to your brokerage, and then after 30 days, they will send you a $20 Amazon gift card. Ticker.com/Benzinga. Again, get paid, get perks just for owning stocks. You get the you get the capital gains, and you get the perks in the company. Double dipping. Nice. And once again, All Access is a sponsored show. We had Ticker. We also have the companies that were on today's show to pay us to be here. We want to thank them all for coming on. I want to thank you all for watching. If we could get a handful of more likes, like maybe 150 likes for this show, that would be awesome, I think. I have to plug the event. Last thing, I almost forgot. Let's bring that up on the screen right now. Okay, the FinTwit Conference, 2 weeks away, May 13th and 14th. There are 2 different ways to buy a ticket here. The link that's on the screen, that is kind of a pain in the butt to copy. If you're going to use that link, just check out the YouTube chat, because that link is pinned to the top of the chat. That'll get you $200 off. But an easier link is to just go to benzinga.com/events/FinTwit 2022. Actually, an even easier link, since we're giving you easier links now, is just go to the URL. Let me make sure it works before I give it to you. Yeah, it does work. FinTwit 2022. That's the URL. FinTwit2022.com. It's up on the screen. That's the easiest link to get to this website here. Use the special link to get $200 off, or use that link on the screen with the discount code BZYouTube20, BZYouTube20, to get 20% off your ticket. Time is running out because prices are set to go up next week, and the conference is in 2 weeks. Again, Vegas, Aria Hotel and Casino. It's going to be a freaking blast. I'll be there. Come hang out. And on that note, we are done. I'm going to take a short break, but I'll be back in a half hour. No, 25 minutes for Benzinga Live. So thank you all for watching. This has been All Access, and I'll catch you guys on our next show.